Hi everybody, this is Hetek Word. I'm Peter Morvay and we are now joining via the Zoom from Israel or Issachar, Director of the David Institute for Policy and Strategy, Israel's Defense and Security Forum. Hi, or thank you for joining us.
Hello, Peter. Yonapot. Thank you for having me.
So this is the 12th day of the war and we are in the middle of a ceasefire and the war between somewhere. So things are moving so fast that I would rather ask you about more strategic questions. Just a couple of hours ago, Donald Trump called Israel, Iran as two countries who are fighting each other and they even don't know why are they fighting because it's going on so long. Uh, Please explain, help us and help our viewers. What is the reason for the fight between Iran and Israel that is going really for decades now?
Right. So, as you said, President Trump announced a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, and it's remained to be seen where it leads us from here because Iran, it was no longer than 20 minutes into the ceasefire when Iran launched ballistic missiles into Israel and unfortunately killing 4 people in Beersheba and later another barrage at northern Israel. So, a very fast-moving series of events, and we're monitoring it closely and going to the shelter quite a few times every day. And how did it all begin? I think it is safe to say that the Islamic Republic of Iran declared Israel its strategic archenemy for a variety of reasons, from the 1979 Islamic Revolution when Khomeini took power of Iran. But beforehand, Peter, the Iran and Israel used to be good friends, and the Israeli people and the Iranian people were in quite good terms. There was an Israeli embassy and an IDF attaché, and the Mossad was very active in training the Shah, the previous Iranian king's secret service. And we have nothing against the people of Iran, nor the Iranian regime until that moment when they decided to make Israel their nemesis. And I think that's a variety of reasons. If you look in depth into the philosophy of the Islamic Revolution in Iran, if there is something they inherently despise, is foreign intervention in Iranian affairs. And in order to preserve the stability of the regime, any dictator, you know this, has to have an external enemy in order to survive, in order to rally around the flag. That external excuse was deemed to be Israel, the most efficient one. In my opinion, because that was the West, predominantly the United States and Israel, who helped the previous Shah. In terms of economic relations, I would say Israel's part was negligible. France and the UK and Germany were much better, much more broad economic relations with the Shah, much bigger economies. But for some reason, there was a convenient excuse to say, look, Israel is the little Satan, the United States is the big Satan, and we have a holy commitment to get rid of the Israeli foreign uproot in our region, get rid of Israel, take over the region, instill Iranian hegemony, and then face off the big fight between us and our nemesis, the United States. So I think it's a combination between needing to have an external enemy and denying anything that was pro-Shah. If you were pro-Shah, pro-Iranian king before the 1979 revolution, by definition, the Islamic Revolution had to be against you. And for some reason, we are bearing the toll until today with the nuclear program, the ballistic missile program, the proxies around the region. All of these form the center of gravity of the Iranian Revolution.
You speak Farsi, and
That's right.
you can understand their logic and their mindset much better than most of the Western journalists. How do you see? We could hear in the news that Israel just bombed in Tehran a so-called Doomsday clock, which was set, and it showed the amount of time that is left until the destruction of Israel. Were they really decided to annihilate Israel, to wipe it off the map, or
Mm.
it was just a slogan for them in order to rally the people around them, as you explained, and as an external enemy.
Mm.
Were they really serious about that?
Oh, Peter, they were dead serious to the extent that they acted upon a strategic plan rather than just had aggressive rhetoric. And that plan had three centers of gravity. As I said, one, the nuclear program, and Iran got dangerously close to obtaining 90% weapon grade enriched uranium and was extremely advanced in the weaponization process to actually instill this enriched uranium on a warhead and make it usable on a ballistic missile. Look, Peter, they were dead serious, and there were several motivations behind Iran's quest to destroy Israel. But I have to say, first and foremost, that in the Palestine square in Tehran, the Iranian regime has put a clock, as you said, 8,411 days. That was in June 2017. They decided that from that point on, that was Jerusalem Day, El Quds Day of 2017. And the Iranian regime decided that we got a little over 8,400 days until the destruction of Israel. And they really set up a strategic objective. That would be July 2040. And of course, they failed. But I wouldn't, and of course, we're going to keep our guard. But I have to tell you that Israel is merely a stepping stone on the way to the bigger battle against the real nemesis, which is the West, headed by the United States. Iran has been developing a ballistic missile program that is capable of covering the entire state of Israel, long-range ballistic missiles, who can prove very deadly, including some, just this morning, a missile weighing some half a ton that exploded and made part of a building collapse, killing 4 people in southern Israel. These missiles can reach all the way to Eastern Europe and cover Romania and Bulgaria, and in Iran intended to keep developing them in the pace of 300 per month. So this is a strategic weapon, not just a nuisance. Number 2, of course, the nuclear weapons program. And for years, Iran claimed to have a peaceful program, but no country that has a peaceful program, and you know that's very well, enriches to the level of 60%, coming toward 90% weapon grade enriched uranium, nor carves deeply buried underground facilities, nor develops uranium metal, nor refuses any and all IAEA international inspectors. And you know, a day before the Israeli attack, the IAEA, the international watchdog, has said that Iran has been violating all of its international commitments. Iran is a party to the NPT, Non-Proliferation Treaty. But for them, for the Iranian regime, the nuclear weapons program is strategic. It's the corner. It is really its apex on the way to achieving world dominance, as it aspires to do. And Israel could simply not live with an Iranian nuclear weapons program, a regime that openly aspires to destroy Israel, and now can marry the intention and the means. And I would say, finally, the original proxies, and we saw how deadly Hamas was in the October 7 attack, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, the Assad regime that has fallen ever since, and the militias in Iraq and elsewhere. So Iran really has built this strategic depth around the region in order to have this frontal defense in case of a foreign attack. And this frontal defense has collapsed, and Israel and the United States deem it is now befitting to attack before it's too late and before Iran clutches its hands on nuclear weapons.
What could Israel achieve in this 12-day Operation Rising Lion? Could it just slow down the Iranian danger, or it is possible to say that this danger is not existent anymore?
What Israel announced is that it has achieved all the war objectives, including significant damage, significant long-term damage to the nuclear weapons program and the ballistic missile program. Look, the Iranian nuclear program has been judged too deeply buried in the ground to touch, and Iran was judged too far off from Israel for the almighty Israeli Air Force. And within a span of an hour, the Israeli Air Force managed to really combine with the Mossad and the really eye-popping capabilities of the Israeli intelligence has managed to really wave off all of these projections that Israel cannot overcome Iran all by itself, and it needs the United States. So there you go. The Israeli Defense Forces and the Mossad were capable to overcome every single one of the Iranian defenses in quite an inspiring way. And I do hope that when Israel says, and Benjamin Netanyahu said it, the prime minister said it today, that we inflicted significant long-term damage on the Iranian nuclear program. And that primarily was the goal. If I may say about this nickname by President Trump, who I deeply appreciate and who led a historic move against Iran's nuclear facilities, the 12-day war, for me, it's at least that 627-day war and counting, because that was over 620 days ago on October 7, 2023, when Iran launched an all-out assault against Israel. But of course, we're talking about the head-to-head Israel-Iran phase now that took just 12 days for Israel to really succumb the entire Iranian apparatus built by billions of dollars over decades.
You mentioned October 7th and the more than 600 days that passed since then. And in this time frame, Iran lost most of its proxies in the region. And it seems that in the past 2 weeks, Iran lost its external big allies like Russia or Turkey or other countries in the Arabic world. Why is that correct to say that that Iran remained alone, or it's just a wait and see approach from these powers?
I think Iran is more isolated than ever before, and it was against all projections. I think before getting to the obvious suspects like Russia and China, take a look at Europe. Take a look at the European countries that until 2 weeks ago threatened Israel with sanctions. Emmanuel Macron of France, who basically has toed the line with the Israeli position, saying, and I quote, "zero enrichment, no ballistic missile program, and no regional proxies." This is far beyond the 2015 nuclear deal that they aspired to come back to. So they were fairly modest, and now they are extremely ambitious thanks to Israel's capabilities, because they were quite encouraged by Israel's success on the battlefield. Germany's Chancellor Merz, who said Israel is doing the dirty work for all of us. And they are secretly, or not so secretly, fairly happy and pleased by Israel removing a clear and present threat. And it is the main objective of this war, as I deem it, to remove a clear and present threat culminating in Iran. And you mentioned the allies, and yes, Russia and China buying some 90% of Iran's oil exports and really holding the Iranian economy together. Russia buying missiles and drones from Iran. Imagine that. There are Iranian drones and missiles landing on top of Ukrainian citizens in Ukraine, manufactured in Iran. And so Iran has been aspiring to be, a global superpower, and now it has become a paper tiger. I don't see Russia and China, beside, giving some, fairly general condemnations for the record, for the protocol, right? That we should aspire for de-escalation in the region. I don't see neither Russia nor China die on the Iranian hill. They got enough problems in and of themselves. And we see how the Arab countries also desert Iran to prioritize their national interests first. It's an extremely interesting development, and not least of which the United States of President Trump joining Israel in that military campaign, taking on the site in Fordo, the underground bunker in Fordo, where they enriched a lot of that uranium. Quite remarkable achievement of Israel, effectively now being the leader of the Western world.
And one final question, that what comes next after the dust, if and when the dust settles after this operation, what will be the priorities for Israel?
So look, I think Israel wants back to normal, but not back to the eve of October 7. Israel wants to restable and stabilize its immediate environment, and its national security architecture. This means that if you look at the map of the Middle East, Iran cannot have any trace of a nuclear weapon program nor a ballistic missile program. And we aspire for some sort of an agreement with the United States that includes strategic and in-depth inspections and limitations and restrictions on Iran's behavior in that nuclear front. Now that when Iran is on its knees, I suspect it will be much easier to obtain that. And I sure hope that President Trump uses this chance and this opportunity really handed to him by Israel in order to achieve that. And of course, him with the United States Air Force leading that striking forward. We have the day after in Gaza, where we have to see all 50 hostages back home, all of them back home. And if we could use this strategic moment with Iran, the big master of its protege Hamas, in order to get some sort of a deal in Gaza, get some sort of a long-term victory in Gaza, a decisive strategic picture, that would be Israel's red line. I don't suspect that Israel can leave this campaign without having a clear changed reality in Gaza. No Hamas, hostages are home, and the threat is removed. And in Lebanon, look, as someone who, one half of my family came from Lebanon, the other half came from Iranian Kurdistan. So somehow I experienced these arenas, not just as military theaters, but also deep in my family. And I can tell that the Iranian people and the Lebanese people are different. They are smart and they are diverse. In Lebanon, you got a whole plethora of ethnic groups who, for the most part, dislike what Iran has been doing to their country. And I'm expecting the Lebanese people to be decisive, all out reject the Iranian presence in their country, really reject the Hezbollah presence in their country, and pave their own path for a future, maybe even expand the peace accord to join the peace accords with Israel, part of the Abraham Accords. And we can talk about Syria and Turkey, but just to say that Israel, in the day after, in my opinion, should be the new regional superpower, sign a peace deal with Saudi Arabia and the Muslim world, change fundamentally the strategic picture in its immediate borders, Gaza and Lebanon, and really see how we can grow from here to a better security reality where Israel is no longer so threatened, and Israel knows, and the Western world knows, to nip threats in the bud, not let threats metastasize, not to let Iran reach to become a nuclear threshold state, being on the verge, on the cusp of obtaining nuclear weapons. All of this must change, and we have to change the way we look at threats, not as a way to start a war and then sign some sort of placebo deal or a half-baked deal in order to avoid war, only to get it afterwards when the enemy dictates the rules. We have to impose these rules in order to avoid war. No nuclear weapons for Iran or any other theocratic regime, and no proxy armies and terrorist armies on Israel's borders. I think in Europe, in the day after, you will also have to deal with the Iranian infiltration and all of these sleeping cells and the real disturbing presence that the IRGC has in Europe, the way radical Islam is treated in Europe and some sort of a criminal activity. I think the day after, this will no longer be seen this way, but rather as a battle between civilizations. And I think the civilized world, including the pragmatic Muslim world, will have to join hands with us in order to reject the forces of evil and the forces of radicalism. And this, in my opinion, is a true prescription for stability.
Or thank you very much for your deep insights into current situation, and we and our viewers continue to pray for Israel and stand by you. Thank you very much.